Hi everyone, my name is Kaylee and I'm at Sugarmoon today, and I'm going to walk you through how to use our take-home sugaring kit on my legs and on my underarms today. So the first thing you'll do when you've got your kit is just take a look at all the pieces that are inside. You'll have a jar of sugar paste that, depending on the temperature of the room you're in, might already look really sort of soft and pliable, maybe kind of stiff if you're doing this in the winter. And you'll have 3 different sizes of strips that you can wash and reuse. You're going to have larger strips for larger body parts like your legs, your arms, your chest and your back. You'll have slightly narrower strips this size that you can use for bikini lines and underarms and things like that. And then you'll have really small ones that you can use for your face. You'll also have 2 different sizes of spatulas. You'll have this size, the larger size, for, again, larger body parts like your legs, your arms, your back, your bikini line, and then you'll have a smaller size like this that you can use for your face. So when you're preparing to use your sugar, you're going to want to assess what body part you're working on and if you need to warm it up very much. If you're using the very large size and you're doing your face, if it's not very stiff, I sometimes don't warm it up because my face is warm enough to warm the sugar as I apply it. Since today I'm going to be doing my legs and my underarms, and I know that I'm going to need this to be soft for a longer period of time, here I've got a bowl of warm water that it's already been sitting in for a few minutes. So I'm going to leave this jar in my bowl of warm water so that it maintains its soft texture for longer. I also know that I'm going to be using larger strips for my legs, and I'm going to be using these smaller strips for my underarms, so I'm going to keep both of these handy. I won't be needing the really small strips for my face, and I'm not going to be using this little spatula, so I'm just going to put that aside for now so it's not in my way. So this morning after I showered, I didn't put any moisturizer on my legs, and I also did not put on any deodorant because those things can act as a barrier against the sugar, and I want this sugar to go on really easily and my hair to come off really easily. Okay, so I'm going to start by sugaring this leg. So since my sugar has been sitting in this bowl of water, it's nice and soft now. So that means that I can sort of put my spatula in and you can see how nice and soft it is. You can put this in the microwave if you prefer. I like the bowl of warm water because it keeps my sugar a good soft texture for longer. It sort of regulates the warmth. But if a microwave is your preference, go for it, that's cool. So I'm not starting with an enormous amount of sugar. I'm starting with about that much. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this sugar on my leg just to make sure that I get it all on there to start. One of the tricks with sugaring is you actually want the sugar to be thinner than you would imagine. So I'm also going to come back and forth, and you'll see that in coming back up, I'm also bringing some of the sugar back with me. So that means that I can spread this even further. And one of the great things about sugar is that it never dries. So I also don't have to worry about doing this quickly because it'll just stay nice and soft on my skin. But you'll see that with that one spatula that I took out of the sugar jar, I've got a good section of my leg fully covered here. And I am making sure to go back and forth for 2 reasons. One, to make sure that it's spread nice and thin, and another, to give it time to really sink into my hair follicles and get nice and gooey and friendly with my hair so that the hair is going to come out even better. So I'll just put down my spatula. I'm going to take one of my washable and reusable strips. And a good trick at home is if you don't get any sugar, if you try not to get any sugar on sort of these short edges for about a ½ inch from the end, it won't look like there are strings of sugar flying all over the place, and your hands won't get as sticky, so it feels like a tidier thing to do. So I'm going to place my first strip just across the bottom. I'm coming on a little bit of an angle just to make sure I'm leaving these edges nice and clean. I'm going to warm it up with my hand, and not really aggressively, I'm just going to gently pull that strip right off my leg, and you'll see the little hairs that came with it. I'm now going to keep doing that all the way up this leg using the same strip each time. You can see all my little hairs coming out there as I go. Now, as I'm going, I'm noticing that I've missed a couple here and there, just a few little hairs. So now that I can feel that this strip has a good amount of sugar on it, what I'm gonna do after I get this last little patch is I'm going to use the sugar that's already on my strip, because you can actually see in a few spots it's quite thick. I'm gonna go back onto that spot where I can see that there are like 2 or 3 little hairs. I'm gonna work the sugar back, and I'm just gonna sort of gently press and squish it around a little bit. And then, ta-da, I got those little hairs that I had missed. So, now that this strip feels like it's nice and full of sugar, I'm just gonna fold it up so that I know it's used. I'll put it aside and I'll rinse and reuse that one later. I'm gonna grab my next clean one, and then when I start working on the outside of my leg, I'll start with a fresh strip. Okay, so now I'm gonna do my favorite part, my underarms. I'm just kidding, it's not my favorite part. So what I'm gonna do is first, actually before I grab my sugar, is take a look at your underarm hair in the mirror, because with the legs it's easy, the hair just grows down, so you know you're pulling the strip up. With your underarms, they probably grow in a few different directions. Like for me, for the most part, about the top half grows upwards, the bottom half grows down, and the ones in the middle kind of grow like this. It makes it a little bit complicated to try and get every single little piece like that. So for the most part, what I'm gonna do is apply for the top half of my underarm hair, I'm gonna apply the sugar going up with the hair and then removing it down. And for the bottom half, I'm going to apply the sugar down and then remove the hair up. So I'm gonna use much less sugar for this one because I wanna take it in smaller pieces, partially because it's painful for me, and partially because my strip is smaller and I want to do this in smaller sections to make sure I'm not breaking all of my hair. So I've got a small amount of sugar, so I'm going to try and sort of, it's hard to see from this angle, use a mirror if you're at home, applying the sugar up at first, then back down just like I did with the legs, to sort of paint it around and make sure that your sugar is getting nice and melty. And as I'm going, you'll see that I'm also taking some of the sugar back off onto the spatula, because again, I don't want it to be really, really thick. So with my strip, I want the sugar to be in about this section. I don't want it to be down here and then pull from the top, because if I pull from the top, I run the risk of pulling the strip away from my body, which is not going to be as efficient for your hair removal. It could also be quite a bit more painful. If I only leave about 1 inch at the top, it's just an easier way to remove the hair. So I'm going to place it right there, and I'm holding my hand in the middle of my back to make sure that this part of my arm is staying as far out as possible so that the skin is as stretched as it can be. Okay, here we go. Oh, that hurt, but man, did that ever get a lot of hair. Awesome. And then I can just kind of see out of the corner of my eye a few little bits that I didn't get the first time. So now that I've got that part covered, I'm going to just fold the strip over so that I don't end up getting that part sort of on my fingertips. I'm going to get a bit more sugar. And now I'm going to start applying from the center down into this other section of hair, but I'm going to go back up as well to make sure, again, I'm spreading that sugar nice and thin, giving it time to sink into all those little hair follicles. So you just take your time, don't rush yourself. Now I'm going to take my strip, I'm going to flip it this way because I want the sugar to be sort of in this section, not up at the top. Again, I only want to be pulling on a small tab, not a really long tab. So I'm going to place that guy right there. Keep my hand in the middle of my back to keep my elbow out as far as it can go. And here we go. Okay, that one got a few fewer, so I'm going to have to do that again. I'm going to just make sure it's really in there. All right, that one was better. Okay, I'm going to reapply a little extra sugar because I can see some hairs here that I may not have covered properly. This is easier when you're standing in front of a mirror. You're going to have a better sense of what you are and aren't covering with sugar. So I'm trying to go back and forth again over this section of hair. I'm not going to rush myself because I want to only have to do this one more time. So I'm just going to make sure that's spread really well. I've got my fresh strip here that I'm going to apply. When you're not removing it, I like to sort of hold this part up if I can, just to make sure that I'm really able to work this part of the strip into the hair. And now I'm going to replace my hand to the back of my back here and go straight up. Ah, there we go. That was the good one. Okay, and a few little ones that I have to get again because it looks like they're sort of on the outside. See, I do this to people all the time, and I do this to myself all the time. Even I sometimes miss a few here and there, so if you've missed some, just keep going. It's fine. This is the process of trying to sugar your own underarms at home. Okay, so I'm going to rinse off all of this sticky sugar from my underarm, but that's pretty much it for underarm sugaring. If you have any requests for any other body parts you'd like to see us do online, besides obviously the stuff that we shouldn't be doing online, leave us a comment below and we will make sure that we get that video done for you. Thanks so much.